So let's talk about oxidation numbers. Oxidation numbers are a way of determining who's oxidized and who's reduced. So when something has charges, that's really easy to tell. We can just use the charges. But we've determined that we can pretend that things have charges. So for instance, we can assign oxidation numbers even when something's covalent. So for instance, N2, let's just look at that. What charge does it have? Well, we know that it's by itself, it's neutral, so we would put the oxidation number below it, not a charge up above, because we distinguish it's a different thing. It's oxidation number, we put it below 0. It doesn't have any charge. There's no way to pretend it has a charge, so an element by itself is 0. Let's look at nitrogen in a compound now. This is a covalent compound, 2 nonmetals. There's clearly no charge at all because it is covalent, right? So we're going to pretend it has a charge. So the more electronegative thing will be get the negative charge, the pretend negative charge, the less electronegative thing. And so we just assign in a covalent compound hydrogen a +1 as a routine kind of thing. So if we would pretend like there's 4 plus charges in here, we could even write them down as 4 pluses. What we don't want to do is write +4 because that would be wrong. None of the hydrogens have a +4, so we don't do that. We just write +1. That's what hydrogen has. Okay? What would each nitrogen have to be in order to make this whole thing add up to 0? Since it's neutral, it has to add up to 0 altogether, right? The whole thing together adds up to 0. So we have 4 pluses, we're going to need 4 minuses. Divided by 2, that's a -2 and a -2. So nitrogen has an oxidation number in this compound of -2. Now, we don't always add up to 0 because sometimes we have polyatomic ions. So let's look at nitrate. Nitrite is an ion. It has a charge. So overall, this thing has to add up to a minus. So this whole thing, all of it together, has to add up to a negative. So we're going to look at this and say the more electronegative thing is going to be the negative, and oxygen is the second most electronegative thing in the universe. Almost always it's going to get a -2. If this were a charge, writing it upstairs, we would write 2-, right, as a superscript. But down below, as a subscript, we write -2 to distinguish 2-, -2. Okay. So we have 3 of those, right? So we can write 3 down, or we can keep it in our head if we're good at that. -2, -2, -2. The whole thing has to add up to a -1. So what does nitrogen have to be in order to make this whole thing add up to a -1? Well, the answer has to be a +5 because a +5 and 3 -2s add up to the -1 that we're looking for.